The new housing bill just passed, and if you've been thinking about buying or selling a house, you can ignore the headlines. Okay, so what we're talking about here is the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, and if you've been paying attention, you've seen a lot of talking heads offering up their opinions. Well, here's mine. Settle down. Nothing's going to change much over the next year or two, and after that, the changes are going to be pretty gradual. By the way, I'm Walt, the Realtor with Meridian Associates right here in Springfield, Missouri, and over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to explain this new legislation because it might be causing you to rethink your plans to buy or sell your home or relocate, which could mean buying and selling. And the shorthand is, yes, this is going to fix a couple of real issues that have been holding the housing market back, but it's not an overnight fix. But before we jump in, if you've been thinking about buying or selling a home, we should have a conversation because every situation is different. If you're buying, I'll help you figure out if you can afford to buy a house, and if you can, how much of a house you can afford to buy. And if you can't afford it right now, I'll help you come up with a plan to get yourself there as quickly as possible. If you're selling, I'll help you understand what the market is doing to sellers right now and how it's affecting your home's value. And we can come up with a game plan on how to sell your home for the best return, or even if you should sell right now. Either way, I don't charge for consultations, and a 15-minute conversation like this can sometimes save you from making an expensive mistake. All right, enough of that. Let's go. At its core, this new law will increase supply. That's it. Its primary goal is to increase the number of single-family homes available for regular people like us to be able to buy. And over time, that should make housing more affordable because of the law of supply and demand. When supply goes up, prices tend to drop, but prices go up when supply is limited. And we see that dynamic all the time in the regular world. Gas prices right now, they're stupid high because supply is down, and that's because of the Iran war. That's a real world example, but here's a figurative example for you. Imagine if your local grocery store had the last watermelon in town. They could put a $30 or $40 price tag on it because they know the lack of supply means somebody who really wants a watermelon is eventually going to pay that price. Now, you and I might think that that's stupid, but somebody's going to buy it. But if we want to look back at the real world, one of our local grocery stores right now, and if you're a local, you can probably guess which one, is selling Kansas City strip steaks for $21. Not $21 a pound, $21 a steak. It's not a special steak. It's not Wagyu. It's just a steak. But supply is down, and they know somebody will pay that. That's supply and demand. And housing works pretty much exactly the same way. There's 10 people wanting to buy a house, but there's only one house for sale. You get a bidding war and the price goes up. But if there's 10 houses for sale, assuming that they're all, decent, livable houses, there's not going to be a bidding war because things are more balanced. And if there's 20 decent houses for sale, those 10 buyers can probably get the sellers to drop their price. And that's what the legislation is trying to move us toward. The catch is that when supply goes up and prices drop, we'll have more buyers enter the market. And that'll cause demand to increase. And when demand increases, prices will try to move back up. So long-term, supply and demand will try to balance each other back out. So one thing the law does not address, it does not add money into the equation to try to make it more affordable to buy a house. So there's not going to be any additional money to help fund down payment assistance programs. There's not going to be any kind of financial push to try to get mortgage rates down. There's nothing like that. And there's one primary reason for that. Actually, there's two primary reasons for that. Of our two political parties, one party likes to put money in the pockets of people who don't have a lot of money because they will spend that money and that boosts the economy from the bottom up. The other party kind of hates that. And since this had to be a bipartisan bill in order to pass, they needed to avoid that argument altogether. But the logical reason that they're not doing anything with the financial side of it is because if you put more money out there to kind of stimulate, the ability to buy houses, you're basically stimulating demand. If you stimulate demand, prices are going to go up, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose of this bill. So we're focusing on increasing supply. And the legislation does that in two primary ways. First, they're going to make it easier for builders to build houses, because right now it's kind of a pain in the butt. Aside from buying the land and supplies and materials and hiring construction crews and things like that, The regulations are strict, and getting infrastructure like electric and sewer and roads built to a new development, that's time consuming and expensive. And the licenses, the permits and various inspections, they're all a pain. So if you're a builder and you have 50 hoops to jump through for each house that you build, it makes more sense to build one big expensive house than it does to build 5 or 6 smaller, more affordable houses, because there's fewer hoops to jump through. And that means the supply of new starter homes is tiny. This law should fix that. The other issue has been corporate landlords snatching up every affordable house on the market, putting a renter in it, and then jacking up the rent over time to make it profitable. This law makes it illegal to own more than 350 houses, which still seems like a ton, I know, but they're trying. But since corporations are good at hiring lawyers and finding loopholes, we'll see what that really accomplishes. So the bottom line strategy is build more starter homes and stop corporations from buying them all and turning them into rentals. So overall, it's a good start. Now here's the part that's getting lost in a lot of the news coverage. None of this is going to happen overnight. Builders still have to buy the land, communities still have to approve the developments, roads and utilities still have to be built, and the homes themselves have to be built. That whole process takes years. So if you're hoping to see home prices drop next spring, don't hold your breath. Could prices level off over time? Yeah. Could home value appreciation slow down? Probably. Could some markets actually see home prices drop as supply improves? Well, absolutely, some will. Probably not our area, though. That said, whatever changes we eventually see, they're going to be slow, long-term changes. Now, assuming this works as designed, here's how it should feel for people wanting to buy their first house. Let's say that today you're paying $1,500 a month rent and you decide that you want to buy a house. And let's say that you go house shopping and you found one that you like. But the payment on that house is $1,800 a month. That's a $300 gap that you're going to have to figure out how to cover. And if you tighten your belt, you probably could make it happen. And over time, your mortgage payment will get more affordable because it stays constant and your wages catch up over time. But you decide you're going to wait until you get a raise or promotion or a better job. And when you do, you go look at houses again. But now the monthly gap is $500 a month because home prices went up faster than your wages did. So every year you wait, that gap gets bigger and it gets harder to buy a house. But when these changes start to take hold, that gap should get smaller every year because home values will increase at a rate slower than wage growth. So earnings will hopefully begin to catch up. That means that if you can't afford to buy a house this year, you'll start getting closer each year instead of farther away. So what does this change for you as a buyer if you wanted to buy right now? Well, it might change the math down the road, but if you're thinking about buying a house this year, it really shouldn't change your plans. If you wanted to buy a house in the near term and you decide to wait for this new law to take effect and make some changes to the market, you're kind of playing with fire. There's no guarantee that the law is going to work, for one thing. And if it doesn't, you won't be in a better situation in a few years. If you want to buy your first house and you can make it happen financially, I say do it. Do it as soon as you can. If the legislation works and makes things better, it'll benefit you when you're ready to upgrade to a larger home 5 or 10 years down the road when the kids start, getting bigger and things start getting a little crowded. If you decide to wait and the new law actually does work, the bottom line benefit you'll see will still be pretty small. And if the law doesn't work, you're going to kick yourself. And if you're not sure whether you're ready or not, give me a shout. We can talk it through. I'll help you understand the numbers, which will help you make the best decision for you. If you're a homeowner thinking about selling, there's no reason to panic. The new law isn't going to flood the market with new homes because construction still takes time. Most markets, including ours, are still dealing with limited inventory when it comes to starter homes, and that's certainly not going to change overnight. And if you're planning to sell over the next year or two, this bill's probably not going to have much impact on your home's value. Now, that said, as supply increases over time, the value of your home probably won't increase as quickly. In the Springfield area, we've gotten used to annual appreciation in the 4% range. That probably won't be the norm in a few years. For housing to become affordable again overall, either wages need to increase faster than 4%, Or home appreciation has to slow down to a rate below wage growth, which around here tends to be 2 to 3%. So while it might hurt your home's valuation at some point down the road overall, it will strengthen the real estate market because more people will be looking to buy. So instead of prices rising so quickly, the buyers get priced out of the market. We could see a more balanced market where more buyers enter the market. They have more choices when they get here, and homeowners are able to sell their homes more quickly. All right, so what's the takeaway? Well, the takeaway is relax. The housing market will change, but the changes will be subtle enough that you might not even notice. The new law is a long-term strategy designed to address a long-term problem. Remember when you were a kid and you had a birthday and there was always some adult who would ask, so how's it feel to be a 10-year-old? And you'd say, it kind of feels exactly the same. But as a 10-year-old, you were radically different than you were when you were 9 or 8 or 7 years old. You went through some big changes. You just didn't notice it happening. Well, that's how this is going to be. So don't base your decisions on what you hope this law might or might not do over the next several years. Base it on your finances today, your family's needs, your goals. When you ask yourself if now is the right time to buy or sell, the answer really doesn't have anything to do with this law. And if you want some guidance to help you figure out the answer to that question, give me a shout. Scan the QR code in the corner. That'll take you to waltrealtor.com, or you can call or text me at the number on the screen. If now is not the right time, I'll tell you. And if it is, we'll come up with a game plan. I'm Walt, the Realtor with Murray Associates right here in Springfield, Missouri. Thanks for watching. See you next time.